Nobody there.
It's budget day. That's all the news.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call the open session. It's now 4:15. Oh, there it is. It's now 4:15. I'll call the open session of the St. John Board of Police Commissioners March 10th, 2020 meeting to order, and welcome everyone here, including the members of the public that decided to show up today, which is Neil, I should say. The first thing on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, outside of the agenda, is to welcome Chief Drolet to his first meeting of the St. John Board of Police Commissioners. And Chief, this is unusual that nobody's here.
Oh yeah, we have one.
Oh, here she comes.
Yeah.
Here she comes.
In any event, we'll wait for our friend from the newspaper to attend and come in.
So, what did I call you? Chair? Chair. Okay. What's your role in this?
No. Come on in. We're waiting for you, Barb. We saw you coming. We said there's not much on the agenda, so the least we could do is wait for Barb. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we'll wait for her to get her trusty notebook out. And the first thing that I'd like to do is welcome Chief Drolet to his first meeting of the St. John Board of Police Commissioners. It's the Tuesday, March 10th, 2020 meeting. The other thing I just want to make a comment on, and Chief, welcome. We look forward to your guidance of the force over the next number of years. Lots of issues on the table as you've seen, and we were through the interview process excited from a commission's point of view to hear your experience and your enthusiasm for the job. So again, thank you very much for agreeing to take the position, and we look forward to working with you over the next number of years as you move the force into the next phase.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to working with the Commission as well.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind you, as you know, I'd like to make a few comments addressing the recent developments in our attempt to negotiate a new collective agreement for members of the force. As all of you know, on Friday, the Commission took the necessary step of filing a complaint with the Minister of Post-Secondary Education, Training and Labour regarding the Association's refusal to negotiate in good faith. As you recall, we started the process, the negotiating team did back in January, and since then the Association has come to the table for approximately 2 hours, of which also included the conciliation process before the provincially appointed conciliator. And as I indicated in the press release, anyone with experience in these types of matters knows that 2 hours at the table does not, in the Commission's point of view, nor our negotiating team, nor our legal advisors' opinion, constitute bargaining in good faith. We value the officers of the St. John Police Force, but we need the Association to work with management and the Commission to consider ideas for possible changes that would help the overall sustainability of the force, allow the Chief to better manage the force, all for the benefit of the members and the community. We've, quite frankly, as was indicated in the press release, been discouraged by the union's unwillingness to discuss any potential solutions to some very real challenges that we have before us. And we have an obligation as a Commission to share our perspective on the failure to get the Association to the bargaining table to date. The complaint is the mechanism through which we've chosen to make our views known. An arbitration board, we understand, will not be appointed, as the union would like, until the Minister is satisfied that collective bargaining has been carried on in good faith. As I said, we value the men and women of the St. John Police Force. We want to reach an agreement with them, but that has to start with both parties coming to the table, particularly the Association in this case, rolling up their sleeves, talking with us, and both parties moving forward. We'll await at this point now the next steps from the Labour and Employment Board. So with that, those comments, I'm going to turn to the agenda. It's very brief. Your first meeting, Chief, it will not be like this going forward. As we've indicated, typically we'll see presentations from yourself. Members of the force will come and advise the Commission and the public as to what issues are being worked on, things of that nature. So there isn't any that with your first meeting, I know your function has been to date to get a handle on the force, the workings, and what issues are front and center. So there isn't any open or public sessions or public presentations today. And then also, we do have situations where members of the public or the force are presented with awards for bravery or other recognitions that are due them for various acts that they've or events that they've undertaken throughout the course of their duties. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the February 11th, 2020 minutes. Could I get a motion? Micah, seconded. Mike, on the motion, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Item number 3 is the adoption of the March 10th, 2020 agenda. It's before you. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda? Both Micah moves, Mike seconded on the motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. There isn't any items on the agenda other than that would raise a conflict, so I think we can skip over item 4. And there's no delegations this month, and there's no consent agenda items. There's basically 2 items on the agenda which we see every month, Chief. The internal monthly report, 8.01. I'll just turn that over to you now.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. For February 2020, we have 0 complaint. We received 1 complimentary correspondence and 0 grievance.
Thank you. Can I get a motion then to receive and file? Micah, that? Mike, seconder. Thank you. On the motion, all those in favor, aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. The next item is 8.02, Chief, the highlights of the monthly activity report.
Yeah, the monthly activity report is there for everybody to review, and I'll be taking questions if you have any comments. It's right there attached
Yep.
to your
8.02.
Yeah, 8.02.
The one issue, Chief, is as you move into your role, you'll note that in the past and currently on this, we see Mental Health Act files. Chief Connell identified significant issues that the force was faced with in responding to Mental Health Act calls. There was a public announcement last month of funding from the Minister, Dorothy Shepherd. So as that's one area where I can see you're keeping us involved and updated as to how that new system is rolling out with the social workers here working in the department. So we look forward to hearing how that's working. It's the next one beside it is the mental health calls, related calls for service, and 117 files were open in the month of February. So it's a significant number in the sense, recalling Chief Connell's comments that it weighs heavily on the manpower of the force. When an officer gets a call like this, they're typically at the Emerge at the St. John Regional Hospital for upwards of 8 hours, and they're out of play for any other calls that come in. So it is a significant issue, and we look forward to the funding coming through and that program getting implemented here in the department. Does anybody have any other questions for the chief on any items that come up? No?
And if I want to,
Sure, go ahead.
I have to tell you that those mental health calls or the demands on us for those mental health are not unique to St. John. It's been every place I police, and I'm glad to see that St. John's being proactive and entering into that agreement. So I was briefed on it by Chief Connell, and then I met with the minister, and my next step is to meet with the staff from the ministry and come up with that put that program in place. So, and I'll be presenting on that hopefully next month. I'll have something to present to you.
Okay, perfect.
So,
If there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to receive and file. Micah, seconded, Mike. On the motion, all those in favor, aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Thank you, Jeff. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our open session meeting. Could I get a motion to adjourn? I think either Mike or Micah, one of the two.
Jeff can do it.
I didn't hear Jeff, so all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
There you go.